But there's a lot of businesses, perhaps some of them are represented here today, where actually doing the short-term thing for financial gain is smart business. It is smart. It is, you do need, because you're working at a public company which reports quarterly, because you need to keep shareholders on side. Maybe you're worried about losing your job if you don't hit a certain target in March or April or May. Isn't there a fundamental conflict between the demands of some businesses, which are short-term interest-based, and your vision of business?
So the argument you're making is short-term-based companies should make short-term-based decisions, which means they'll last for the short term. I'm not actually making an argument of any kind. I just wonder whether or not actually the reality is, maybe this is why you make the point, that... I'm raging against reality. I think that the systems we have in play do not support capitalism. I think we have corrupted capitalism, which is capitalism at its best doesn't follow the rules that we follow today. The concept of shareholder supremacy was a theory proposed by a Harvard professor in the late 1970s, popularized in the 80s and 90s by bosses like Jack Welch, right? The concept of using mass layoffs to balance the books, mass redundancies because we missed our numbers.
This is the Mitt Romney school of
right?
business.
Did not exist as a standard way of doing business prior to the 1980s. It was popularized in the 80s and 90s. Let's look at the 80s and 90s. These were boom years of relative peace without the internet. Right? Now, that world does not exist. We no longer live in boom times. There is no longer relative peace, and the internet has profoundly changed the way business operates today. In other words, what worked then cannot work now. GE needed a $300 billion bailout in 2008 because that company was not built to last. What I'm saying is the systems that we consider normal ways of doing business, shareholder supremacy, using mass redundancies, and other philosophies in how we incentivize people, how we hire people, et cetera, they are outdated and outmoded, and they are a race to zero. And the companies that continue to embrace those philosophies, big or small, are struggling with engagement, they're struggling with innovation, they go through people like nobody's business, and the executives keep getting fired or quitting, right? Unceremoniously. And by the way, their shareholder value is